So we're up at in North Devon with Nigel Stacey. He's one of the group members of the Rolls-Royce group, Rolls-Royce and Bentley group we're in. He's just going to talk a bit about the cars he's owned and his father's cars. So basically over to you, Nigel, if you could tell us about your father's cars and your cars and how your life with Rolls-Royce and Bentley cars.
Well, I was quite lucky insofar as my father went into Rolls-Royce and Bentleys quite early in his life. He initially had a Jag and then was persuaded to have a Rolls, and he started off with the Silver Dawn, which I decided was a mountaineering project, so I climbed over the boot and up over the bonnet and down again the other side, which he didn't take very well. He then went on to a Silver Cloud 1, which I thought was a lovely car, and at the tender age of about 7 I used to steer it around the place for him, and I would go and get it out of the garage where it was garaged a short distance from the house, fortunately on a private road, and bring it to the front of the house every morning for him to go to work in. I was car mad and would take any opportunity I could to drive or steer it, and therefore I grew up with Rollses, because he then went on to a Cloud 2 and then ultimately a Shadow, and then went through various Shadows onto Spirits, and then had 2 or 3 Spirits, and then I talked him into going to Bentley, and he changed to a Bentley Malzahn, which I picked up from Arnott's showroom for him many years ago, and I went on to purchase that car from him probably about 10 or 12 years ago now. He also had a Shadow 1, and that was a 76 car, and I fell in love with that car from the moment, again, I collected it for him from Hooper's on this occasion, and I was determined to try and buy that car when he went to trade it in against the Spirit. I had about 5 or 6 other cars at the time, like Rover 3.5s and a couple of old Jag Mark IIs, and I flogged those quickly and had a quick word with my bank manager, who was very friendly, fortunately, and I paid him the matching price that the trade-in people gave him, which I think was £9,500 on a car that cost £16,800 brand new. And at the age of 24, 25, I was the proud owner of my first Shadow, which was only a few years old at the time. And I've tended to only use it on high days and holidays. I still have it today. It hasn't been used for a little while now, so it needs a bit of TLC at the moment, which I'm planning to do over the next year or so, now that I'm sort of semi-retiring and got a bit more time to deal with things. I have had a couple of other Bentleys come into my life. I've got a Mark VI Bentley, which I acquired about 15 years ago.
What year is that?
That's in 1951.
Right, okay.
4 1/4.
Right. Is that a standard body?
It's a standard steel.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and I bought that from somebody locally who purchased it with the house. It had a seized engine, and he allowed me to buy it off him really cheaply, so I could afford to spend some time on it and get the engine unseized, and myself and a couple of friends worked on it overnight for 3 or 4 days, and we got it all up and running, which really surprised him when we went back round and gave him a ride round the block in it, and he was very happy about that.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, he was a nice chap, a very nice chap. The other car I bought when I first moved down here was a Silver Cloud, sorry, beg your pardon, an S2. I say Silver Cloud because when I looked at it, it had a Rolls-Royce grill on it, but we put it back to the correct grill.
Right, okay.
And that I've used a fair bit. We've been to France in it on a couple of car rallies and things like that.
What colour is that?
It's silver, light silver,
right.
shell grey. Yeah, I think shell grey. And at the moment, again, that's been laid up, mainly because over the last 10 years I've had so many commitments and so many work problems to deal with that I've not really had the time or the spare funds to put to it. But, like I say, I'm hoping now with a little bit more time on my hands to concentrate a bit more on some of the classic cars that I have generally, but particularly the Bentleys, to try and bring them all up together again.
So you've got a Mulsanne S, and what year is that?
The Mulsanne S is 1988.
Right.
Again, my father bought it new. I picked it up, and I've driven it from day one because my father very generously always handed over the driving of the car to me when we went out together.
Right.
And I took that over about 12 years ago, I suppose, now, something like that.
And that's royal blue, isn't it? That one, is it?
Is it royal blue or Exeter blue? Royal blue, I think.
Royal blue.
Yeah, we had a Spirit that was Exeter blue.
Right.
And that had paint problems and issues.
Right, okay.
And Rolls-Royce actually took that car back.
Right, okay.
And dealt with it.
That's brilliant.
They changed it for a coral red one. Yeah, so in a nutshell, that's my sort of Rolls-Royce Bentley history and background.
That's a wealth there, isn't it? I mean, you've got pictures or cine film of your dad driving his Shadow, haven't you?
Yes,
Can you say a bit about that?
Well, my father was a very keen amateur photographer, and he quite early got into videos and the old VHS type. But before that, he was on the old cine film, and he used to make quite a lot of mini episodes. But he'd always had the camera with him, and I've got 1-2 clips that we're just digging out now. We've had a whole lot, my sister had a whole lot transferred from cine onto DVD, so I'm still going through those. Some of which were things like him driving the car onto a ferry with the Webasto sunshine roof open, and me at about the age of 10 or thereabouts waving out the window.
What year was that, Nigel, do you reckon?
I think it's probably about 1965.
So it was one of the first Shadows then?
It was a very early Shadow.
It was a very early one.
I think within the first year or two of them being produced. I can remember the first time I saw it because I was at a boarding school, and all us kids used to hang about in the drive waiting for our dads to turn up and pick us up in cars, and boys' parents would have E-type Jags, and everybody go, ooh, look, an E-type. And I kept waiting for the cloud to roll down the drive, and suddenly this boxy, shadowy thing turned up in the drive, and I was most disappointed. I didn't like the shape of it at all when it first came out, but naturally it's growing on me now.
Yes.
As with so many later models. But I still love the cloud as a shape.
Yes.
And its derivatives and various different body makers' versions. But yeah, the Shadow was a slight disappointing shape initially, I thought.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he then moved on to the Spirits and the Mulsanne, which again were even more boxy than the others. But there we go, that's progression.
Oh, well, thank you for your interview and letting us know about your history of your cars.
That's my pleasure.
And showing me around your house and around all your car collection. It's been very much appreciated.
Very well, well, thank you very much for making the effort to come all this way over.
No worries. Thank you very much. Thank you.